Welcome to Money Hangout once again. Uh, every week we discuss an important thing about your investment, how you should go about doing it. Try and help you learn about mutual funds and take your questions. If you have any question, we try and address it on a specific topic. This is brought to you by Bidla Sun Life Mutual Fund and Value Research. Today we are going to talk about, how to invest and what is this all about. To doing an SIP has become a rage today. 5,000 crore rupees is invested every month by Indian investors. I would say nearly 5,000 crore, and this is growing rapidly month after month into mutual fund and into long-term mutual fund, where investors have decided that they will be investing some money of a part of their savings every month. This sum looks small, and it is small going by the large country we are and the number of investors and savers there are, but it is very special, it is very important, it is very meaningful for the markets keep, markets like sustained flow of money. And how does it help investors? They are able to, historically, Indian investors have invested in markets, particularly stock markets, whether through mutual funds, whether through stocks, whether through IPOs, whether through NFOs, in a very seasonal way. Way back in 1993, people got excited about a new mutual fund which got started, or some other time. As recent as 2008, a lot of investors got excited about infrastructure fund. And that is just the wrong method, because most investors, when they get excited about making investment, it is generally the wrong time. It is easy to invest, and after that they are only disappointed. And the converse is just as true. When it looks very difficult to invest, markets are crumbling, things look horrifying, things look scary, you find it very hard to invest. And that is perhaps, and mostly, it is generally a good time to invest. Of course, the basic rule that you should be only investing your long-term money into markets is still understood, but catching a market high actually reduces your possibility of winning. So being regular with your investment is very important, and SIP helps you do that. SIP, as it is popularly referred to, is systematic investment plan. Of course, there are many variants of it, and they are not worth talking about. But SIP, think of it as a recurring deposit in in a mutual fund, and don't try and think hard about it. It just fits in with our income cycle. We get our salaries every month. We spend almost of our spending on a monthly cycle, whether it be buying our ration, or paying our utility bills, and paying our home loan, paying our EMIs. Then why not invest every month? So that is all there to it. And the net result of all this is that market is a scary place. You are able to average your investment. You are able to eliminate the possibility of catching a market high. But there is more to it. We have historically, most investors have thought in terms of earn every month, spend every month, but accumulate your savings in your bank account, and then go about making investment, because investment has always been in the past a lump sum affair. That is not a good idea. As I said, that eliminating the possibility of catching a market high, being very disciplined with your investment is key to your investment success. And that is why you should do SIP. So when you have lump sum to invest, and you need to average your investment, that is called systematic transfer plan. Do that. This is not as popular as SIP. And you should put your money in a fixed income fund and decide to move that money into equity over a period of time. And how long should if you have 10 lakh rupees and that money has to be moved into an equity fund, uh, how long should you take? That is a tricky decision. That is a tricky question. But I would say that do it over if that is a very important money, if this is a money which you have acquired over a long period of time, it has taken 5-10 years to accumulate. If it is a superannuation fund and you need to invest this money for the long term, maybe take it to 3 years, spread that money over a 3-year period. Otherwise, I would generally take broadly go by a thumb rule that the period which has taken for me, the maximum period should be 3 years. Of course, there is no thumb rule, or there is no science to it, but if it takes me 1 year to earn a amount of money, I would be spreading that money into equity investments over a 6 months period. If my annual bonus has to be invested and if it is sizable, then I will definitely spread it over the next 6 months. That is the broad principle I will follow. But spreading your lump sum investment over a period of time is crucial. Otherwise, you will be scared by the market. If you are hit with an accident in the market, soon after you invest, you will be scared out of the market forever. And this could be a huge missed opportunity, because market is risky on a day-to-day basis and market is extremely rewarding over a long period of basis. And it's important that you get into the market in a manner that inspires confidence and provides you encouragement to stay there. Then comes the third variant, which is systematic withdrawal plan. Most investors have taken to heart that they have to invest regularly. And once you have done that, it is just as important to withdraw methodically, because most of our investments are directed towards a goal. You invest and let it accumulate. It's extremely risky to wait for the day when you need the money to redeem your investment. That day could turn out to be a very bad day. And if that turns out to be a bad day, it is important to de-risk yourself by planning your redemptions over a period of time. This might translate into some opportunity, that might translate into some missed opportunity, but it is very important to be disciplined even when you pull out of the market. I would say that depending on the negotiability of the goal and depending on the importance of that goal, if I need the money for my child's education when he's getting into the college, and I have created an investment plan for that, I would like to have the first year's fee in my bank account or in a fixed income fund 1 year before he gets into the college, so that his college education does not depend on the state of the market. And then on an annual basis, I will actually be doing a withdrawal plan, giving an instruction that the amount of money which I need 1 year from now or 2 years from now, I will be withdrawing that amount in equal installment over the next 24 months or 12 months. That way I will be able to de-risk. If you do these three things, don't listen to anyone if somebody tells you to complicate this, because these things have been SIP has been able to strike a chord with a lot of investors, and a lot of fund companies have gone about innovating on this, creating a variant of this. A lot of people often ask me that if SIP is good on a monthly basis, then SIP will be great on a daily basis. I don't see a reason for that. It is basically a mind management tool for us. It is basically a mechanism whereby we configure ourselves to stay in the market for the right reason, and we are able to reduce our risk of catching a market high. So that is all there to it. A lot of some investors also think, or some advisors also advise, that why not do value averaging. Don't compromise on the simplicity of it, don't compromise on the discipline of it. And there are some complications. A lot of investors think that how do I calculate, because if you invest 100 rupee today and after a year's time it becomes 110 rupee, very clearly that it has become 110. How do you calculate return? How do you know that you are actually, how much are you making on the investment that you have made over a period of time? We help you do that. Set up your portfolio at Value Research Online. It will give you a rate of return for the SIPs that you make. It will also account for all the systematic withdrawal plans that you do. It will also be, you can easily put your transactions in a STP. You can make a lump sum investment in a fund and post a transaction whereby what amount of money will move into which fund, and you will get all your return calculations to understand how your investments are doing. We are just trying to help you understand things better. So take these three forms: how to invest regularly, how to invest your lump sum in a regular manner, and how to be regular with your withdrawal before you need the money. And this is good enough. Most investors can do without knowing anything more about investments. If you become if you actually close your ears after understanding this and taking it to your heart, you'll be reasonably well taken care of. So I look forward to your questions now.
Thank you, Dhiren. Let me start with a question that a lot of viewers are asking. is it better to invest manually depending upon the market level instead of relying on predetermined frequency that an SIP offers? And one viewer suggests investing whenever the NAV falls, while another wants to buy whenever the NAV falls by 10% and sell when it rises by 10%. Yet another wants to base it on the PE value of the Sensex. So, what's your take on all of this?
My take on all of this is keep it simple. Uh, and you should attempt to time the market, because these are all mechanisms of timing the market. And some of them work sometimes, some of them don't work sometimes. If you were looking at 2004 and you are looking at price earning ratio, you would have been out of the market in the best of period in a very substantial way, because the markets kept rising and the P's looked expensive all through. So there are situations uh, when you can be driven out of the market. Excuse me. So if you are forced out of the market because of by following such a formula, because markets don't know those formulas. I'm just warming my uh, to avoid this cough. So don't do any of these things. Be onto a simple plan, and even if it amounts to missing an opportunity, because over a period of time, I think investment discipline is the biggest contributor. You should attempt doing this in only two cases, which I think is highly improbable. If you are gifted to be lucky, or if you know magic, because that is the only way to guess that this is the time not to be in the market and this is the time to be fully in the market. And these are very difficult decisions. I have not come across any professional fund manager in my last 25, 26 years of tracking mutual fund who has been able to call the market right.
Nonetheless, Dhiren, a certain level of skepticism does persist among viewers. Mr. Gupta says that in the present market, even an SIP can result in a negative return. So, what can be done to avoid that?
SIP can translate into negative return all the time, but that is not the point. The point is that over what time period? Do you think? I don't think that SIP will translate into negative return if you do it for 5 years, 7 years, uh, and in fact, on a 5, 7 year market cycle, SIP will. There is a possibility that there could be missed opportunity if the market steadily keeps going up and you have lump sum investment and you are still averaging your investment. There is definitely a missed opportunity. But as I keep saying, that the rewards of disciplined investing, because our investing career or our investing time period is normally our working phase of life, which is 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And if you are regular and diligent about it, the rewards are disproportionate. And I would like to err on the side of being diligent than being lucky, because this part is more trustable as compared to being lucky.
Thanks, Dhiren. Next up, Aditya says that he has invested in several SIPs of the same AMC. Is this okay?
No, when investing in equity, SIP is useful, but that you need to really address another issue, that how should you diversify, and what is good diversification, and what is thinking that you are diversified but you are not well diversified. When you are investing only in one AMC's funds, you are exposed to any vulnerability of that company in terms of people, in terms of something being going out of favor. We keep seeing it all the time. So it is always useful, and you should diversify beyond a scale of vulnerability. If you have all your money going into one AMC, uh, at least diversify. Depending on the scale, I think not having more than 50% of your money. For your first 2,000, 5,000 rupee, maybe it will be complex. One AMC is good enough. But the moment you achieve a scale, maybe 2 or 3 MCs, and basically you are accessing the expertise of different people, and you are not vulnerable to failure or somebody being out of favor for a sustained period of time. You are able to reduce that possibility. So spread your diversify meaningfully across styles as well.
Dhiren, a number of viewers want to apply this concept to other instruments as well. So, Sudhir, for instance, asks if SIPs are advisable for debt funds or MIPs. And another question is about whether they are good for the NPS tier 2.
uh, in case of as I kept insisting in my initial discussion that SIP is mostly about eliminating the possibility of catching a market high. And you don't need to really eliminate the possibility of catching a market high in MIPs and fixed income funds, because the scale of volatility is very high. In case of equities, there is a possibility. In 2008, we had a situation that markets went down by 60%, or many funds went down in ranging between 60 to 80% in a span of 8 months. You don't have that possibility in MIPs and debt funds. They do go down, but they go down by a couple of percentage points and then they recover. So you don't have to de-risk yourself against that. So you should not you don't need to necessarily, if you have lump sum money, you don't need to do SIP in a debt fund or a MIP. But if you are earning every month, then might as well do a SIP. If you are if you are saving for to be withdrawn for a withdrawal after 1.5 years, might as well do that SIP in a debt fund. That is a different thing. But if you have lump sum money, you don't have to necessarily do a SIP to eliminate that possibility. The reason why we do a SIP in an equity fund.
Next up, Dhiren, moving to a topic that you alluded to in your introductory remarks. A number of viewers are puzzled as to how to calculate the returns from SIPs, because in this case, there isn't a lump sum investment, but investment in stages. So Surya asks, how can one calculate SIP performance, because his fund statement does not provide him with an internal rate of return?
Set up your account at Value Research Online. Get your account statement, upload your PDF file, get your account statement from CAMS. Going to CAMS online website, putting your mail ID and putting a request that you want your transaction history. You get a PDF statement, which is at that particular point, you also have to specify a password for your document. You will get your account statement in your registered mail ID for your investment. And once you get that account statement, upload it on our website. You will be prompted for the password. Once you do that, all your transactions will be posted on Value Research Online. You don't have to put them manually. Once you do that, all your the return on your internal rate of return is available, and you can see it every time. Not only that, the website also, the portfolio tracker also takes all the future transactions that will happen, and the website has the capability of executing a SWP or from a lump sum or a accumulated investment, or doing a lump sum investment and doing a systematic transfer plan. So Value Research Online makes your return calculation or understanding your returns from various mutual funds on any kind of transactions very easy. As about NPS, I think NPS has to be looked upon entirely as a mutual. The NPS tier 2 is like a mutual fund, except one difference, that the maximum allocation that can happen in NPS to equity is 50%, and the tax treatment of the NPS accumulation is not as good as equity. The equity allocation is not treated. It is treated as your income. It is treated as a fixed income. And we don't even know about the status of indexation, where indexation can be applied on NPS. The law is, it is not a popular thing, and it has not come for discussion or clarification yet. So I don't know about that. So NPS, look at it exactly as mutual fund, except that there is ambiguity. It's less tax advantageous when it comes as compared to an equity fund.
We now move to a cousin of the SIP, which is the STP. Mr. Saraswat says that he wants to do an STP in balanced funds for 30 months. He asked whether he should keep his principal amount in ultra short-term funds or in liquid funds.
It doesn't matter. But given this time period, I think ultra short-term generally tend to provide you a little more return. But err on the side of caution, go for a fund which is conservative, because it's not going to make hell of a difference. The whole idea of doing an SIP is to average your investment, whether you get, because 30 months, your money will move to a balanced fund. You are reducing the possibility of any big hit, any big blow in the marketplace, and you are reduced reasonably from that. Whether you earn 7% or whether you earn 7.8%, which is likely to be the difference. It could be the difference of 6% and 7% in liquid fund and ultra short term fund on a reducing balance of monthly redemption from these funds. It is unlikely to make a huge difference, but even taking an ultra short term bond fund can enhance your return marginally, but that should not be your focus.
Another related question on STPs concerns taxation.
Yes.
Dharmendra asks how capital gains tax is computed and deducted when we make an STP from a liquid fund to an equity fund.
Oh, this is pretty straightforward, because STP, you get all the benefit of indexation from a debt fund only if you hold it for 3 years. And my understanding is that when you are doing a STP, it is likely to get redeemed. All the redemptions will happen within the 3 year period. That is the maximum time of for transfer, generally speaking, for any even a sizable transfer into an equity fund. So all the gains that will accrue in these funds will be added to your income in the respective financial year.
And Dhiren, is there a way to simplify the calculations for taxes on STPs? Madhu says that it gets quite complicated while filing her taxes.
No, you should actually depend on the fund company. CAMS Online as well provides you a capital gains statement, which is very straightforward. The mutual, while calculating capital gains, mutual funds, the principle being followed is first in, first out. So if you invest 1 lakh rupees in an ultra short term bond fund and you decide to withdraw 8,000 rupees a month or move that, so the cost of purchase minus the cost of the cost of sale minus the cost of purchase is your gain, and that is indexed. In this case, this is all the gains on a 12-month basis will be added, and you will get a very clear-cut statement. Every mutual fund facilitates a capital gain statement from their respective registrars, and that should prove to be very handy. Once you set up your portfolio on Value Research Online, you get all the raw data for you to understand how much is your realized and unrealized gain. And so it's not very cumbersome. All you have to do is the price of purchase minus the price of redemption for the number of units on the redemption date of respective month, sum it up for the financial year, and that is your gains, which has to be added to your income for computing taxes.
Moving on to the often asked question about how long one should spread one's STP over, especially in the context of retirement. Mr. Rawal recently retired and received 45 lakhs from his pension fund. He asks over what time frame he should invest this amount.
First and foremost, you should invest your money in equity, the part of your money which you are unlikely to need. The money on which you need to derive income from should not be invested in equity. So be clear about that. Once you are done with that, I would say that 3 year period is the maximum. This is a very important money. This is also a sizable money. Your risk tolerance will also be relatively low, because our mental makeup changes once we stop earning money on a continuous basis. So these things, it has to be mitigated on two fronts. I think 3 year is a good enough period when you will be at least catching reasonable part of a market cycle, and so 3 year is the maximum, which I think is prudent. And then choosing the right kind of fund, if you're going to if this is a very important money, and this is meant for the long term, you have never invested in the market in a wholesome way, get started with a balanced fund. Maybe after 3-4 years, once that money has accumulated and grown, maybe take out a part of it, then invest in equity. But choosing conservative fund and choosing a conservative time period. But I think any period over 3 year, it will be too long a drag and you will not benefit.
Dhiren, a lot of investors are also thinking of moving from regular to direct plans.
Yeah.
And they want to know whether they should do this in one go or through an SIP.
The reason should be primarily guided by your status. You should primarily be guided by what is the exit load levied or leviable on if your investments are over 1 year old. If you're out of the exit load and your investments are beyond the 1 year time frame for equity investment for capital gains, then you can well move it lump sum, because the whole idea of doing a systematic transfer plan or doing a SIP is that you are able to eliminate the possibility of catching a market high. But right now you are fully invested in equity anyway. All you are doing is moving your money to a lower expense plan. So be guided by exit load and capital gains tax only, and all your existing investment can well move, laterally get shifted into the direct plan in a lump sum way.
Hemant asks quite a fundamental question about SIP investing. He says, how can he decide when he should stop his SIP in Fund X and start one in Fund Y?
There are the reason why he should stop his investment when only on two, when we should sell an investment. This is primarily, he is asking that when he should stop investment and when he should sell his investment. Two reasons. If he needs the money, stop your investment and take it out. The other reason is the reason why you chose that fund. Those reasons don't exist anymore. If you invested in a fund and because it was doing consistently well and it has stopped doing so, stop your investment. But define those things clearly. A lot of investors ask me that, my fund has slipped from 5-star to 4. Soon after I started investing, should I discontinue? I say no. Yes, a big fall on the rating scale can be one pointer. But then if a fund steadily and gradually continually falls on the rating scale, it is a good pointer. If the fund is unable to beat benchmark for 2 years in a row, I'll be worried. So these are the reason why you will not invest in a fund is good enough why you should stop investing in that fund anymore.
We now move to our final question for the day. Chirantan says that all debt funds, including ultra short-term debt funds, have declined over the past month. Is it therefore advisable to move money into liquid funds?
This has already declined, and there is a possibility, and you will recover your money in anywhere between 2 months to 6 months. Most funds will recover. Yes, if you have, take it as a lesson. If you think that this is something which you are not prepared for and you would not like to experience in future, move all your money to liquid fund. Otherwise, optimizing return on your fixed income fund, you have to be in the right, in the appropriate categories. Some funds were hit and they will recover, but they also rewarded investors in the past. So don't don't move in a huff. Be methodical about it.
Thank you, Dhiren. Any final thoughts?
I would say that there is a lot of investors try to heavily engineer this SIP, SWP, and STP. Understand it, take it to your heart for its simplicity, lack of complexity, as a discipline enforcing thing, and the biggest crisis that the biggest reason why investors are scared out of the equity market is they find it easy to invest and they witness a fall soon after they invest. And SIP helps you navigate the markets well. So go for it. Don't think very hard about it, because if you try and make it complicated, you will never get started. And don't use it as an excuse to start, because we try and time the market and it never works. Being in the market, this is a great way to get started and be at it.
Thank you, Dhiren. Thank you all for joining in. Join us next week for our hangout on the question of kaun sa mutual fund sahi hai.
Thank you.